Hello, I am Jim Partridge. I'm a modder and mapper. Every now and again I make videos. and today I wanted to play through a custom campaign called Cold Front, and playing with me is Jaiz, who is the primary creator, I'm going to say. Is that fair?
Yeah, primary creator, project manager, sole level designer.
So I wanted to interview Jaiz and go through what was involved, because to be honest, this is one of the most sort of robust professional campaigns that's available for Left 4 Dead 2. So I thought there'd be a lot to learn from this, sort of just talking through it. For me, I've got lots of questions I want to ask, but also hopefully it's useful for other people to hear who are still sort of dabbling in this world, or even sort of doing level design for other games as well. So we'll get into it. We're going to actually play through it, and we'll try and play through it as we go. Actually, we should change. I'm going to change the settings to easy, right? Even though you made it and I build this stuff, I'm not that great at playing, I have to say. So we don't want to be too disrupted by the game itself. Okay, questions. Right. First of all, when did you start thinking about making this campaign, or this coming into being?
Oh, well, it's been a while where I wanted to make my own campaign. Originally, I had ideas to make a campaign based on my street, like my hometown where I live, but I lacked the skill and experience at the time, so it was just kind of like a bit of a pipe dream, something I'd think about. Oh yeah, whenever I get around to it, I'll start learning. I'll get to it. Come around the last stand update, I pushed myself to get a bit familiar with Hammer, and I did a lot of more menial mapping tasks, like placing around the items for the campaign, doing some clipping, the really basic stuff that's just kind of tedious to do. After I took a bit of a break, I came back and I thought, you know what? I have a bit of experience. It was a couple hundred hours that I spent in Hammer working on the last stand. I figured I'm going to just practice. I'm going to look at this really cool map from a Roblox game called Left 4 Dead. That's the original inspiration, and I'm going to recreate it, just to block it out, basic textures, and just slowly learn with that. And it spiraled a bit out of control, and I made a 5-map campaign.
I didn't know that it was based on a Roblox campaign. That's amazing. Are there any parts of your hometown still in here?
There's some vague parts that resemble areas here, but the actual concept of making an entire campaign based on my street where I live and everything, that's shelved for a future project.
Yeah, but it's interesting because Left 4 Dead is one of the few titles where you can actually replicate sort of real world locations with it to a certain extent, without it affecting level design too much, because of the way the director spawns things, and that type of stuff. You can actually create lots of fairly realistic street layouts and things like that, and still get a reasonably good gaming experience out of it. I always used to joke about people designing maps, and they'd always start with my school or something like that. They'd sort of build out there. But this is all. There is a back to school campaign, isn't there, in for the thing? But this is one of those games where you can do that and it actually works, and you actually get a reasonable. Okay, so for people that don't know, Jaiz was part of the project team who created the last stand update, the community project team. And you said that when you were doing that, you were doing some fairly sort of minor bits and bobs within Hammer, right?
Yeah.
So to go from that to producing, as you say, a 5-map campaign, is this your first release?
Yes, this is my first ever campaign. I did make some just smaller, really simple maps prior, and one survival map.
But did you release those actually to people to play, or were they just for your sort of
I think I released one of the survival maps. I've unlisted it since because if I don't like the quality, I will probably rework it sometime down the line. But this is my first campaign ever.
That's incredible. And just as we load this up, right, while we're at the loading screen, tell us, where did the inspiration for the sort of the theming come from?
You mean the campaign in general?
Yeah, like the cold, the frozen, I guess the blizzard, the snow campaign.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, the original idea for this was based on a Roblox game called Left 4 Dead, which was made by a group called Fuse Studios. And I just so happened to know the lead developer. His name's Fazezin, great guy. he is very familiar with Left 4 Dead, more so like the technical side of things, like how the director works and things like that. And Left 4 Dead is a really, really good recreation of Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Like if you play through it, you'd think it's basically Left 4 Dead with mods to make it look like Roblox.
Okay.
And yeah, like I was just going through a couple of Roblox games, bit of a nostalgia trip, you know.
Yeah.
And I came across it. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. And I just asked myself, okay, what would this actually look like in Left 4 Dead itself?
God, so yeah, it's like an abstraction of an abstraction. It's like it's a mod of a mod that's been modded back into Left 4 Dead. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Right. Interesting. And then was it this snowy, or was it more snowy or less snowy? Because obviously this gets more snowy as you move through, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah. So bit of context: Left 4 Dead is only one single map. They did want to expand it, but the project has since been abandoned, unfortunately.
Right.
I believe Left 4 Dead was a little more snowy right from the start, and I was originally going to replicate it like that. But as I progressed through the other maps as they were being made, I found that it was just more interesting to gradually introduce that theme. Like
yeah, I think you're right. I think it works really well. If it's the same all the way through, it would be kind of bland, you know, or each map would feel kind of samey. So I think it's a really smart idea to have that concept build up as you go through.
Yeah, it gives it more variety.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, which map? So you said it was one map. So is this first map? Is this the one that's kind of replicating that sort of block out and stuff like that for the?
Yes. It is obviously it's a bit creatively different. I made it less like rural, small town style. I made it more like outskirts of the big city type of design.
Right.
But the underlying ideas and like progression and layouts, they're basically the same as Left 4 Dead. Yeah.
So one thing I always struggle with all Source games is trying to replicate in a sort of urban environments, right? So, I mean, there's a lot here when I'm in the alleyways and stuff. It feels very familiar to other urban maps, you know, for Left 4 Dead, right? And that's not a criticism. It's just, you know, that's the model set. That's what you know, it's kind of what we're used to. So, did you kind of look at the maps that already existed for the game and try and replicate that sort of layout and look and feel, or?
Yeah, not just for this map, in fact, but for all the maps. I took very heavy. Well, inspiration isn't really the right words. It's more like taking reference from Valve's maps, because obviously the official campaigns are really popular. They're played over a decade later. People love them. They keep coming back to them. So they're obviously doing something right. In that regard, I tried to identify what exactly is it that people enjoy. What exactly is it that I enjoy about the official Valve campaigns? And I took those aspects, either give them my own spin or enhance them, and basically just mix them up together and let them influence my own designs.
So one thing that always really scares me about doing urban maps is the level of detailing that's required, right? For every room that you create, you know, you're sort of creating a detailing debt for yourself every time you create one of those rooms, sort of thing. And I know you had some support, right, from some others in the community as well. So was detailing something where other people stepped in, or did you kind of do most of the detailing yourself?
Well, when it comes to the detailing, there's two different aspects, essentially. One is obviously just from the level design perspective, placed around the models and making everything look pretty and nice. That takes a long time, in my experience. It might just be me, but
no, you're absolutely right.
It is fun. Like, you just put on a playlist, put on some lo-fi, some music, maybe a podcast or something, and just go to town. When you really get into that mood to do detailing, it's just a really comfortable task, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think I know what you mean. Like, sometimes I'm really in that mood, but I am more of a level designer than an artist, you know. So did you kind of do a basic layout, test it with dev textures and that sort of thing first of all, and then sort of do you know, like passes at it, as you say, in terms of basic layout and then a more detailed pass, maybe a sound pass, that type of thing? Is that the approach, or was it really sort of detailing as you went?
Yeah, I definitely I had an iterative approach, because otherwise you kind of lock yourself into a design once you start doing the nitty-gritty details and whatnot.
Right.
And it just becomes like way more work if you end up deciding to rework things. So I don't usually start with grey boxing and dev textures. I prefer to just have like some basic text. Oh god, there's a witch.
Yeah,
I prefer like already using like brick walls, sidewalk textures, concrete floor.
Yeah,
grass.
me too. So you kind of get a feel for the space, and it's kind of and you just sort of see some opportunities that you can, start to detail or maybe great, I could put an alleyway in there or something like that. Obviously, LS, come on.
But yeah, that just helps me. It doesn't really skip the grey boxing because I do still first test with layouts, but it just helps me like maintain a better idea. Okay, what do I want this area to actually be? Because also, hold on a sec, you might not want to jump down yet because I want to.
Yeah, I was going to say, go for it.
But since I was basically the only mapper for this project, I had to do everything. I couldn't split it like you would do in a professional studio, where one person does the gameplay design, one person does the environment art, and that type of stuff. You're doing all of it yourself.
Yeah, and that leads to a very different workflow than a lot of people who sort of professional games ever used to, right? And I think this is what I have to keep trying to explain is, it's like, like I have to consider how many hours, as I say, how much of a debt am I building up by the work that I'm doing in terms of, additional workload and stuff like that. So, yeah.
A little secret tip, by the way, if you want to just hop in real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, here. I see. I clicked it. Ah, okay, hang on.
Yep, just walk in. Welcome to the secret lo-fi room, or the secret developer room, or the Easter egg room, however you'd like to call it.
It's
basically just a little.
It's Lewis.
Yeah, there's also Zoe, Bill, and Francis passed out over here on this little sofa.
Oh, I really should do more of this type of thing. But so I just don't. Yeah, I love it. I just don't have the time. There's but also you managed to master the string of lights as well. They're always fun. I always struggle with those.
Not gonna lie, I just copied these from Dark Carnival.
There you go. Does the jukebox work? Oh, jukebox.
It doesn't actively work, but the jukebox is there for the lo-fi music that plays in this room. There's a bit of like making it, giving it logical sense.
Very cool. Oh my god. Okay. Where now? Take us forwards.
We just jump back into the void.
Points you back there again. Fantastic. Okay. Okay, great. So, is there more of these spaces, or is that the only one?
There are more Easter eggs. This is like the only one that's its own standalone space in that regard. There's some others where you just kind of look at things, or you find some goodies and whatnot.
And is that something you added early, or is that something you added sort of towards the end? Right.
I added it more towards the end because obviously you need to make sure that the map itself works properly. That doesn't crash.
It's so easy to get distracted by fun ideas like that. You know what I mean? And, I often. I've always been quite disciplined, but yes, I know lots of projects that kind of get sidelined.
I will say though, pretty much right from the start, I wanted to include Easter eggs because even though I'm not much of an Easter egg hunter myself, I do find it charming when people take time to put in that little extra detail for the people who do notice it, who do enjoy it.
And I think also the other thing as well that's interesting about this game is that people are going to replay these maps a lot, right? Like if you make a good campaign, it's popular. People are going to replay it, and so there should be more to discover. I think than just on a single playthrough. I like the idea of that anyway. I shouldn't have picked the shotgun. I'm terrible with this thing. So holdout events. What's your rules for holdout events in terms of I don't know, sort of play space, things like that? What you're looking for when you come to designing a space like this?
Well, event areas, especially for holdouts, are basically just arenas. Kind of want to get the player into a certain area, and then also indicates with the supply placements, the thing that starts the events, and also lighting, those are all things that guide the player. You want to use those to show, hey, I want you to hold out here or there or somewhere around here, stuff like that.
So a clear space for the players. And actually, what I find is it's amazing to me how much the players will sort of obey that. You know what I mean? Even if you're saying, hey, this is you're sort of hinting heavily that this space within the sandbags is where you should be. But they could be anywhere, really. There's no reason for them to stay here. But they tend to follow map design, guidance, visual guidance.
At the same time, though, I don't want to force players into picking one specific spot and only that spot, as if no other area is viable.
Right.
So, I like to give players freedom of choice and flexibility when it comes to events. For example, this event. When the gate opens, you don't have to actually hold out the entire thing. You can crouch under the gate and run to the safe room.
Oh yeah, you could get through early. Yeah, so it's not clipped. You can actually just head in there. Yeah.
Likewise, you've got like all these vehicles right outside, like pretty much just a stone toss away from the supplies and the forklift.
Yeah.
And these also make for some decent places to hold out. You've got some slight high grounds.
Yeah.
It's not the best spots, obviously, but they are viable. You can hold out here.
So I'm heading back
it
to
gives players
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It sort of breaks up that space, having the cars to move around.
Yeah. Plus the aforementioned like flexibility with giving players the option of where they want to hold out.
Yeah. It's interesting actually. Yeah, breaking up spaces like this is always somewhat challenging, just because it's sort of, you want to be able to create a flow, if you like, for the infected. So that there's, yeah, you just say there's always something. There's always the way of being flanked, if you see what I mean, for them coming around you.
Yeah. Also, another point to mention, I like paying attention to these smaller details. Like, if you break the glass from the skylight, the snow starts falling in.
Ah, very nice. That's really cool. Yeah, very cool.
Speaking of that, actually, not every cool idea is intuitive, unfortunately.
Right.
I noticed during playtests quite early on that players just ran through here. They didn't look up at all. They never accidentally shot the glass.
Players do not look up. They just don't. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, how can I still make use of this really cool little detail? How can I make players more likely to notice it? So what do? I just spawn a couple columns up on the roof, and they walk onto the glass, break it, and fall down.
Ah, okay. So what are you spawning up there?
Just a couple of commons.
Oh yeah, no, and I noticed that the bots then start shooting at the roof and break the glass, and then gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah, and even if there aren't any bots, just I set the glass to break on pressure or on touch, which as soon as the commons walk onto it, because the pathfinding only lets them drop down there, it'll break and get the same design effect.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so now you're kind of, that layout's done with the, the map that you had as a reference for that basic block. So now you're on your own, right, in map 2, design-wise.
Pretty much.
So are we into the mall now? Is that right for map 2, or is that map 2?
This is map 2. Yeah, map 2 goes straight to the mall. There's still like a bit of a detour going through the maintenance back rooms type of area, but that connects straight to the mall again. Okay,
so why the shopping mall? I guess was a question in my mind.
Well, map 1 ends entering the store. Obviously, in Left to Die on Roblox, it was a smaller hardware store, I believe, and I upgraded to like a big, large, super mega corporation mall.
Right.
Regarding ideas, I wasn't entirely sure what to do at the start, so I just asked what the plans were for Left to Die. Where would the characters go? What were the ideas? What were concepts that they would have worked on if they don't shoot me.
Sorry, I'm jumpy. I'm all excited. Go on,
what was I? Yeah, like what are concepts or designs that they would have worked on if they had not discontinued their project? I was told there was like a hunting store where the characters or like the Roblox survivors would find warmer clothes, and you'll see in a bit that I incorporated that into this as well. Probably not the same way that they wanted to, but then again, from this point on, this is my designs.
Yeah, exactly. But still, I see what you mean in terms of the inspiration, taking it forwards. There's, and I mean, obviously, shopping mall makes sense in the fact that you've got that entire model set there, to work with. It's a great model set, and it's something that you don't see too often in custom maps either, I think. So this is a custom jockey, right? With a suit on?
Yes, but he's got a custom outfit.
I love when I saw that, made me laugh so much. Is he purely just in the clothing store here, or is he elsewhere?
He's everywhere. The first map 1 and map 2 have all custom special infected. There's also a bunch of custom common infected. Right. As you can see, this guy here is like a mall employee.
Yeah.
And map 3, 4, and 5, since we go out into the snow there, has another version of the special effect where they a bit more frostbitten, they look a little more cold.
Right. Yeah, and I noticed that too. I guess was that like an extra layer on top once you were sort of finished with the majority of the mapping work, that type of thing, or was it always?
Yeah, pretty much. I wanted to have custom infected like about halfway through development, but there's not really a point in starting to work on it until you have all the areas fleshed out. Like, you know, which infected do you even need to add? Like, what would fit?
Right. And I guess, you know, as I found, because obviously I've been hanging out with you guys for a while, you know a lot of talented people in lots of different areas of technical skill set, you know, for the game. So so you can reach out to that. How much of those, obviously there are specialists, right, within the groups that we know and the people we know, but how much of those various, I mean, you seem to know about everything, which always amazes me. You seem to have like a working knowledge of so many different aspects of this game. Right? It's crazy. But who do you go to for help? I suppose.
Honestly, depends on what specifically I need help with. For example, the custom models and textures.
I guess what I mean is that actually, when you have these ideas, say about custom infecting and stuff like that, did you just go and do your own research, or did you go to a friend who was sort of a specialist in that?
Oh, usually I go to someone who's already very familiar with it. I ask for like pointers, resources, if they want to help and things like that.
Yeah. Damn, okay.
Don't worry, we are at the hunting store that I had mentioned earlier.
Good. Okay, so now we're introducing tier 2s at this point?
No, this is still tier 1s.
Okay.
You know, some people expect tier 2s to show up because
normally
of the hunting store. But...
yeah, the gun shops, right? The gun shops normally when the tier 2s come in, so interesting.
But I find it still a bit too early to be introducing tier 2 weapons because we're not even like a quarter to the campaign.
Exactly. It's always a question for me. I kind of have a good idea as to, but I also like it to be an event or something, you know, that's actually quite. Oh, how can I put it? I want players to look forward to that moment when they get those, you know, when they get those tier 2s. I want them to kind of go, oh, great, you know, now we can actually do some damage and turn it around. But also sort of having it at a point in the level design or the level progression where it's actually a point where you really like, oh my god, we're going to need some, you know, we're going to need a bigger boat, right?
We need some firepower, yeah. What I did try to do though to make it more than just, you know, another supply stash like any other, I used the skin groups of the weapons, specifically from the shotguns, to add some extra variety.
I see. So
Yeah, like here you have the regular wooden pump shotgun and the black chrome shotgun.
Yep.
And over here you have their opposite skin variants, the chrome wooden shotgun and the wooden chrome shotgun.
I see. That's kind of funky. Kind of
those do show up in the official campaigns. Rocky, Rocky designed a couple different skin groups for various weapons, and they don't show up very often though, because obviously they're new. But I find that they're a really effective way of adding more variety to weapons without actually changing when or where weapons spawn.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just noticed the color correction as you head through this. As you head through this corridor, right? Like the atmosphere is changing, which is awesome.
Yeah. So previously in that whole, yeah, I mean, if you look over here, whenever the boomer bar wears off, you'll see that the skylight is broken, and this is actually directly inspired by what's the name? Yeah, by High Rise.
Okay.
Yeah, that cuts the survival map that was supposed to ship with Damage.
Yeah.
I really wanted to make each area of the mall still feel kind of different. Like, obviously you have like the overarching theme of the mall for the entire level, but each individual area has its own identity within that theme. That helps.
So you're sort of feeling, so you feel the progression, and then you can mark where you're, you're in a new, so if you, one thing I find, is if you've got, you're right, if that mall had that same feel all the way through, it can get quite samey, you know. Even in Dead Center, I find it a little samey, I have to say, in some of those areas. So, I think that's a really smart decision.
Another benefit is the lighting change, since the entire ambient gets more cold, bluish. You can use that to guide the player, because if you look over here, you see that the toy store is a very warm color.
Yes,
that
of course.
Helps it stand out, because usually for lights to really pop and stand out and guide the player effectively, it needs to be in the dark, but I didn't want to shroud this entire place in darkness, so I just used contrasting lights instead.
Oh, I have a question. This is a survivable drop, isn't it, here?
Technically, yes, but I made sure that it's not survivable.
I was going to say, like for me, it's always like drops are a pain. Like climbing, this is why my maps always go upwards instead of like having force, because the chances of them having 1 health when they hit the floor and bypassing a whole chunk of the map, you know?
Yeah.
Is right. Okay, here we go. So we're at the kids' store.
Yep.
Some of us know what's coming. At this point.
I see a safe house this way.
Go on then, talk us through is this something you've wanted to do for a long time?
Honestly, this just kind of evolved naturally. Originally, this was just you spawned him.
I did.
This was originally just generic, empty store without much of an identity, because at the start I did not have any practical ideas of what the individual stores should be.
Right.
I wanted to focus more on making them play well before figuring out the details.
Right.
And it just kind of developed over time that, like, based on the base game assets and the models and textures and whatnot, Toy Store would fit. That it's a fairly unique location. That
it makes sense. It's a nice juxtaposition of concepts. You know what I mean? It's like the cutesy kid store and the tank attack. Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
And the fake safe room. I mean, we've seen them before. I think in some other campaigns. Is it something that you just like from other campaigns, or is it something that you were sort of trying to do better than other people have done it, I guess?
A bit of both. I liked the idea, but I never really found a campaign that does it super satisfyingly, because there is a parameter when you spawn a tank that exists in Left 4 Dead 1 but not in Left 4 Dead 2.
Oh, right.
And it basically what it does is spawn the tank already angered and targeting a survivor, so he runs at you immediately. Valve used that in the Sacrifice for Left 4 Dead 1. So as soon as you open the door, the tank spawns in, gets its target, and runs out immediately. In Left 4 Dead 2, it's either not properly functional, or Valve intentionally removed it or just made it not work.
Okay.
So the tank will only aggro if he has direct line of sight to a survivor. Now, the door being physics proper hittable, the line of sight can go through it, but that brings up a little problem. If the tank spawns in that hallway and you approach from here, he will only aggro as soon as you've got direct line of sight with him, or as he has line of sight with you.
So you just sit there in the doorway, until he gets it. Yeah, okay.
So I was thinking, okay, I want to do this better. How can I do this better? So I talked with Neshus, who figured out a way to fix that, and he, being the genius that he is, he figured out that if you mark the navigation area where the tank spawns on as player clip, it instantly makes the tank aggro on the survivors and rush out. So we used that, which, as far as I know, is the first and only time it's been done with that method.
It's just a hack, but yeah, fair enough. Yeah. But it works, right? Yeah.
It's genius. Yeah, it works.
That's awesome. And also, I mean, I think what's fun about that area is that safe room does feel very early. You know what I mean? When you come across it, it feels like, wow, a safe room already. And then so you're kind of, you're kind of leading the player a little into knowing that,
that is actually something I struggled with a little bit, because almost every single playtester just walked face first towards the safe room and then took the safe room door to the face.
Yeah.
So I tried to figure out ways to make it obvious. First, you've got the atrium itself. Like, you look down here, you see all the details, see like all the rest of the level. Then you also have the short trek that you just recently had,
right? Which
you'd think that in and of itself would convey, hey, something's fishy.
Yeah.
But it still just wasn't quite enough. So I added the blood here.
The blood trail, yeah.
And I also set it up so that the survivors, after they yell out, hey, there's a safe room, one of them says, like an ominous line, like, it would be really bad right now, a tank, or I got a bad feeling about this. And if at that point the player still does not realize something's up, then I don't know what else to do.
Exactly. But I mean, I think the other thing as well is that, as you say, other than getting a door to the face, it's not a game breaker. You know what I mean, in terms of whatever's going to come out of that yeah, fine, they'll take a slam, but you're going to be playing this again. You know what I mean? If this is your first playthrough, you know?
Yeah, it's not far, and the safe room door only incapacitates if you're, I believe, under 50 health. So it is fairly lenient, but it is still a bit punishing.
It's an interesting design point, though, right, about this game, in the fact that you can sort of be a little more flexible with things that maybe are not as intuitive, right? Because the player's going to. I knew that. Damn it!
I like that.
Every time I get caught out for that one. But no, you can be more sort of do some things which aren't quite as intuitive, perhaps, because you know they're going to replay, and players will learn the map, right, to a certain extent, and so you can kind of be a little more flexible with things. You know, if I was doing something for Half-Life 2 or something that's a linear gameplay, I wouldn't do something that, you know, without some decent telegraphing, right? Or something, but yeah.
Well, ultimately, you should still telegraph and like try to show the player what's up, like what's different. For example, those shelves by the tank fight area that are hittable. Players, it's a new object that has never existed before in the game. It's custom, well, not custom made. It's grabbed from what was it, Dead Rising 3, I think.
Alright.
But it's a new hittable. The player does not have any prior knowledge that it is hittable unless they have like meta knowledge. You know, oh, this lighting is slightly different. This seems to be a physics problem.
Right.
But the average player doesn't know that. So I tried to position one in a way that when the safe room door is hit, that it knocks over that shelf to kind of show the player, hey, this is hittable. Yeah. Even so, it's not the most effective, unfortunately, and the main way players learn that it's hittable is when they get hit in the face with it.
But sometimes it's intuitive as well. Like sometimes like it doesn't have to be screaming out. You know, it's like it's just a slight hint that's going to give them even a fraction of a second, you know, to react to a certain extent is a nice touch. Trying to think of other interesting. Well, there's lots of interesting about this area, but I'm trying to think of some of the points that jumped out to me as being something to explore a bit more. These types of spaces I struggle with. This kind of industrial space, just to fill it up with this level of detailing, as you see. I find, you know, big spaces like this I find a little intimidating, I have to say, as a mapper. Just because of the amount of, oh great, now I've got to fill it with something. Yeah. That looks.
At the same time, you can't really overdo it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think the other thing I was going to ask you is about having side areas or areas to go and explore. Like, so, you know, in almost every area here, it feels very, very like the official maps in the fact that there's always something around the corner. You know, there's always something, you know, there's a tent over here, you can go around the corner and there might be something. So there's always that sort of spaces to explore, to look for pickups and things like that. Is that a full clip there? Oh no, sorry, I just can't jump properly. It's fine. There's but I struggle. I think when I'm designing, I tend to stick to a linear path because I am. My history is linear game making with Half-Life 2 and stuff like that, and then I struggle to put in enough of those, you know, nooks and crannies, so to speak. So I don't know. Is there any sort of thought process behind that, or is it just trying to mirror the official map sort of design as possible?
I mean, the way I look at it, I try to think of it kind of like a branch or like a tree, where you have like the main parts that you follow the main path, but you also have like little pieces that shut out, maybe like a small room, a small little twig, or a lot of branch attached to the tree, and just kind of follow that in a way that feels both realistic and intuitive for the player. For example, it might be realistic to have a really long winding detour that leads to... Oh, there's a witch. I did not see this witch.
You were telling me, sorry, carry on, I should say. You were saying about detours, having a really long winding detour,
Yeah, the thing is, players want to get from A to B. That is fundamentally the objective of every map, pretty much.
Yeah.
And some players like exploring more, others like exploring less. The main path should be obvious. Like, players should know, okay, I need to go there, and if I go this other direction, I'm going to be exploring.
Right.
And if they go exploring, there should also be rewards for it. Like, if you take the time to check out a side room, there should be a chance to find some pills, maybe a weapon, even if it's not something that the player needs. Like, you don't have to give them an AK or a sniper. You can just put like a melee weapon there, and even if they already have one, they'll see, okay, there's supply here, I don't need it, but subconsciously that makes them learn, so to say, okay, if I go and explore, there is a chance to find goodies.
Right, and actually that's really interesting because it's. Well, I've been sort of trying to find a balance, or I get some criticism with my maps where there's just too many pickups. You know, there's too many throwables, there's too many things. It makes it far too easy, right? So now, obviously, when I'm building the maps, I'm not placing those throwables. I am placing the an opportunity for the director to create a throwable there, right? And then it's the director that's choosing to either spawn something there or not, right? But trying to find that balance is often a struggle for me. Like trying to, to know when to reward exploration and when not to. You know.
There's definitely a lot of trial and error to it. Just set up some items, see how people react to it, if they like it or not, and fine tune it from there.
Okay, you ready for this?
I am ready, and I also have some interesting facts for this event.
Okay, fire away. Oh, hang on, I've got to hold it down.
Gotta hold down and push that man. It's stuck. Gotta dislodge it. There we go. Oh no, it's hit the alarmed car.
Oh no. Oh, another adversarial event. Anyway, I can't speak. Carry on. So tell us of these interesting facts of yours.
Right, so let's start at the beginning. I was not sure what to do for this event. I wanted to... originally, I just made it, you leave a panel and the gate starts opening, and there's still a little remnant of that gate, actually, since you can see it raised and just barricaded off.
Yeah.
The thing is, the previous map already had you opening the gates to proceed, so I didn't want to just rehash it. And it took me a long time to really figure out what I want to do to make this unique without deviating too much from the basic idea. And I eventually tried, because I wanted to make this a gauntlet at first. I ended up changing that later.
It feels like a gauntlet. Yeah, exactly. It does feel like gauntlet space,
Yeah, but I ended up just changing it, even though I do prefer gauntlet events, making it like a holdout that you can run through.
And there's several pathways through here, right? There's several routes through here, right? There's like two routes on one side. Yeah, I actually had a guy rage quit on me because I abandoned him at this point. I actually didn't abandon it. I lost him along the way, and and just kept going. But he was very unhappy with me.
I wasn't really sure how to handle things, and since I still wanted to keep the gauntlet at the time, I thought, okay, I need something that continues on, like an alarm or something that gives a logical reason and a visual and audible cue that the infected are going to keep spawning. Yeah. So I thought, okay, what if there's like a car or a van in the way, and you got to push it, kind of like in Dead Air's fourth map, and that hits an explosive barrel or hits a car which combusts and triggers a fire alarm.
Yeah, exactly.
I really liked that idea, but when I actually tried implementing it with all like the particle effects coming from these sprinklers, the map crashed.
It was a bit I always think it's good to have big ideas and then if they don't, and then scale them back if you have to. I think that's often I like to sort of I often think about these games as being like a movie, right? It's like an action movie, it's a horror action movie. So you should be having that action movie feel to the whole thing, like a big events, and then as you say, scale back your vision if it's technically going to be a problem. Oh, you're heading back that way. Okay, you're heading back through.
I want to talk about this area a little more.
Give me a second, I'm on my way. Oh, see, let's talk about darkness. Okay, in a second. Yeah, go for
it. So essentially, the layout is still heavily. It's very much a remnant of when this was originally a gauntlet. And when I settled on the idea of using the car alarm, I came to that idea because something I did for the entire campaign is I upgraded the alarm cars. In the official campaigns, if you shoot an alarm car, the sound goes off and you get like some headlight beams, but only the beams. You don't see any like actual lights coming out of it.
There's like a template, isn't it? A map or like a prefab that comes with the got it.
Yeah. So what I decided to do is I upgraded it and I added actual dynamic lights that flash on and off with the alarm cars. That's apparently as far as I know, that's also something novel that I haven't seen in any other campaign before.
So you mean the headlights? No,
Yeah, the headlights
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
the tail lights,
The whole
they
thing.
actually
I didn't
turn on and off.
That's amazing. In my brain, that's what happens in the official match. That's not the case though. That's me.
Yeah, no.
It's funny how you sort of think about these things.
The thing is, though, with those, the regular alarm car hazards, you can completely avoid them and you'll never see the flashing lights ever. So I thought, okay, what if here we just build that into the event itself? That way players will absolutely see it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Because I really did not want that cool upgrade to go lost, honestly.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about darkness. So we've got one route here with a very, very clear light, and we've got another
Yes.
route that's completely in darkness. Why is that the case?
Well, I wanted players to take the path around the right side as like the main, or in other words, the intended path.
Okay.
But I don't want to just block off the other side and force players to take it, because there are benefits to both sides. And this is mostly a design choice influenced by Versus.
Mm-hmm.
The right side,
of course.
it's split up. You can see clearly, but there's a lot more clutter in the way. You got all the cars, you got all the pillars and everything. There's many more places for the infected to spawn.
So dark is like a clear shot all the way through, pretty much. So, okay.
Yeah. So you basically have the choice. You take the dark path where you can't see as well, but where there's also less opportunities for the player infected to spawn.
Yeah.
Or do you take the lit up path where you have clear visibility, but there's also far more. The player infected pose a much bigger threat to you, since they have so many more places that they can actually attack you from.
Yeah. Okay. That's quick. That's really interesting. Because as you say, like the whole versus aspect to that design. The versus you're essentially trying to get there quicker, right? You're trying to get to the end of the map as quicker than the other team, essentially, if you make it at all. So having a more direct route is definitely a design choice. That's that's sort of that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can also see the same influence here with this giant hole in the ground.
Right.
Obviously, the main use of this is that the players can't go throughout the entire parking garage, because they are supposed to go to the safe room over here.
Sure.
But if you take the lit up path, the SARS go right underneath here, which gives the infected an opportunity to drop down onto them. Whereas if you take the dark path,
I see. This is where we were before. I didn't notice the hole in the ceiling before. Got it. So yes, let's see. So you can spawn up here as infected and drop down.
Yeah,
makes sense. Okay, amazing. I have to admit, I when I first played this, I died. I didn't finish this map. And as I said, I'm not very good. This map for me. Well, it's just me. I was like, "Oh my god, I hope this is going to end soon because I'm not doing well here," And then I wiped and I had to start again. But it's a very lengthy map for map 2. But I think map 2 always should be. If it's a 5-map campaign, I think map 2 really does need to feel longer. Like map 1, I tend to keep it fairly short, but map 2, yeah.
I think map 2 is actually not that long, like in terms of raw distance traversed. I measured the stats once, if I can find it. Yeah, map 2 is 0.7 kilometers long, which is still shorter than some of the official maps.
Okay, that's really interesting, because to me, but I think maybe because you're heading through several different environments, in one space, it feels longer. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely influences it, like how much variety there actually is, how many like elevation changes, how many events, how intense the events are. Oh, that is also another reason why I opted to not make the event a gauntlet and instead a more flexible holdout. The tank, which spawns every time, on top of a gauntlet, gets a bit much for players, especially since the map is not short, even if it's not the longest.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Right, okay, give me 2 seconds. I'm actually going to step away for 2 seconds. I'm going to keep recording and I'm going to leave it on, and I'll edit it later and cut it out. Just 2 seconds, alright? Okay, just a minute.
Alright, now I'm the host. I have no idea what to talk about, though. I guess I'll talk about the safe room a bit. Something that players might notice, I hope I'm in frame, is that there's a lot of graffiti and like textures on models. For example, this writing on the plywood here. Usually you put it on the brushes, on the world, like the walls, the ceiling, the ground, and not on models. But there are some ways to do that, which are honestly fairly simple. And I feel like it adds a lot of really nice variety, rather than always having everything written on the wall. Oh well.
Okay, I'm back.
What else can I
Okay, I'm back. Are
say?
you telling interesting facts about this safe room?
Yeah, I was talking about how I put some graffiti textures on models rather than exclusively on walls.
And this is this graffiti from the game, or is it custom?
This is custom.
Ah.
Almost all of the written graffiti throughout the campaign is
Yeah.
custom made, and so people are going to cringe at this. But the way I made them, I write on paper using different pens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like angles and writing styles. I might write upside down, or might use my left hand. I scan it in 4K, and then I edit it in MS Paint.
Oh wow! Okay. Well, I do all my work in Paint.net, so it's fine. But are they running narratives through the campaign with the graffiti?
Slightly. There's no independent narratives, but I do try to use the graffiti in a way that enhances the story of the survivors. For example, here comes when silent, ammo running low. What's the protocol now? Pray. Fits to the survivors having just gone through the mall, hoping to find salvation, but evidently there's nobody there, and now they're going on because they have no other alternative. Their only option is to keep going forwards.
So I'm just reading this one. Don't shoot the crying ones. What, zombies don't cry? It sounds human when you tell it, but we'll take it to pieces. Love it.
Yeah, a bit of meta there. Also,
Very
this one here. This is nothing like the movies. No shit, Sherlock.
So there's all right. So we get going and keep moving through. So now we're sort of heading back up. For me, it felt like sort of heading up to the daylight again at this point, right?
Loading.
Which is here to the right hand side, and coming out. And obviously we're now in a much deeper. It's like winter's set in, in a much more serious way at this point, which may not make geological sense, but but still, I think it's.
It does actually.
Nice touch. Oh, really? What? Further inland, the deeper the freeze. So to speak.
I mean, we're not that far. We only went through a single
exactly.
wall.
Yeah.
Snowstorms. Oh, there's a tank. Snowstorms can show up really quickly and with a lot of intensity. So.
No, I see what you mean. So it snowed whilst we've been in the mall. That was what we just got it. Okay, I'm with you. It's funny, isn't it? I just didn't. I didn't consider that as an option. As the world being not a static thing, Nice. So
you might also notice, in terms of the world not being static, the time of day has changed. We started at night.
Yes.
Now it's getting a little brighter, and by the time we reach the finale, it'll be dawn. I really love just.
I was going to say, what was the choice of that transition to start at night and then to move and have a dawn finale? I guess was it the dawn finale that drove that, and then you worked backwards kind of thing? Or?
Not really. I started with everything being at night, and it's just something that I personally really like. Oh, I've got the snowstorm coming in.
There we go.
Yeah, I just really like seeing the actual time of day change rather than keeping it the same the entire way through. Some of the official campaigns did that. Blood Harvest, for example, starts at dawn and starts just before sunrise, and it ends with the sun rising. Swamp Fever starts before the sun rises, and again ends at dawn, sunrise.
Yeah.
I just think it's neat, honestly.
No, I agree. And also, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of the amount of time we've been playing and the day passing like that, but it feels, it's something, I think from Half-Life 2 with, moving into Ravenholm, which was at night, and then, like sunset before that and stuff like that, it always feels great. So, actually, I was going to say about the Snowstorm, let's talk about that. So, was that in the Roblox map?
No, the Roblox map, at this point, it stopped existing.
No, I get it, but in that first map, was there a sort of a snowstorm? Sorry.
Oh no! This was my own idea because after I came up with the area, I was trying to think, how can I make it more interesting? How can I make it more unique?
Yeah.
And one idea, obviously, storm.
Yeah,
it's got snow. It's basically just hard rain, but it has its own unique twists and enhancements that make it distinctly different.
Yeah.
For example, when the storm rolls in, you'll notice that the outline glows disappear. It basically turns it into realism.
That's right. It's as if you've been boomered sort of thing almost. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I didn't actually notice that. That's really clever.
People don't notice it until they get lost.
Where am I? I'm lost. Where are we going now? Sorry, I've lost my way. Are we heading through here? Yeah.
Yeah. Follow the lights. Remember, the player is the moth.
That's right. Got turned around there for a minute. So obviously, okay, so I didn't play this before I did Tri-County, I have to say. So I didn't know about the snow. Obviously, I knew that there were snowstorms in it, but I didn't know how similar it was when I did it. So apologies for that. That wasn't my intention.
I know, obviously, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Exactly. But obviously, I was in the same way I was inspired by our brain as well, exactly. And so, sandstorm, snowstorm, but it hadn't occurred to me to disable the outlines, of the thing, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I had to get help from Shadowy Sim for that because that's done via VScript. I have no idea how I do that, so I'm very glad for everyone who helped.
So are you triggering you're not triggering an event with the snowstorm though, right?
No, it's actually the same logic as in Hard Rain.
Okay.
Essentially, the snowstorm is always, or I guess the storm in general, is always accompanied by a horde. But that's not like a panic event or anything. That is just a regular horde.
Right.
The ones that spawn.
Yeah. Like if you hang around too long, then yeah. Gotcha.
So essentially, it's the hordes that causes the storm to happen.
Okay. So you're just hooking onto that script and and running from there. Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. And are these their feet are in the snow? They're not running on top of the snow. Their feet are actually in the snow, which is great. I've just noticed that.
Mm-hmm. That's a little detail that I am quite happy about. That's
that's awesome.
But notice this.
See, I'm here for you, and now we're telling the world. Yeah.
It also serves a purpose other than just looking a bit more realistic. Because obviously, when you walk on the snow, you'll step into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Granted, we can't have like actual footsteps showing up like in a three-dimensional space. That's just beyond
the
engine
can't do that. Yeah, exactly.
But it also allows me to keep the floor, like the actual ground underneath the snow, flat, yeah. Which is good for speedrunners because then they can hit their bunny hops a lot more easier compared to uneven terrain.
So you're catering to specialist communities. Lovely. That's great. Yeah, no, I hadn't noticed that. But also, I mean, did it occur to you to affect? So one thing, I had a question when I was doing my thing is should snowstorms and stuff, sandstorms or snowstorms, affect player speed, right? And I decided not to, just because I thought, player movement and player speed is something that players rely on, right, and know about. And it was a choice, and quite a few people said to me, "Oh, you should, slow the player down when they're moving into the storm, like when they're walking towards the wind." Slow them down a bit, but I decided not to, just because I don't think that's I don't think you should affect player the core controls,
Yeah, I did have kind of a similar idea origin with the snowstorm, where I wanted a mechanic where if you're standing outside, you slowly lose health from frostbite, and you can recover that health by going into a shelf, like into the cedar trailer or somewhere else indoors, like a tent or room and whatnot, to kind of give the rooms or the side areas and shelters, I guess, more of a practical purpose. But I ended up deciding against that before even properly implementing it, because I don't think players would have enjoyed it. Because imagine you're fighting a tank and then a snowstorm rolls around. Not only do you have reduced visibility, but then you're also taking damage. Yeah. And what if players are like barely limping their way through and a snowstorm happens and they can't get the shelter in time?
That moves into the world of unfair. In terms
it takes away too much player agency.
Yeah. And I think it's fairness. I think is really important. Like especially, and it's hard to find a balance. I think that's why I never mess with the core mechanics of this, right? Because the game's pretty well balanced as it is, like just in terms of its, of its core mechanics. So anything that messes with that is a concern, other than visibility, which is kind of something, which I think is fair to mess with from time to time.
Also, we've got an alarm car here if you want to see the lights go off.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Okay. Wow, it's way more pronounced, isn't it? And way more. That's awesome. I like the way, those lights reflect back off the windshield and stuff like that as well.
Honestly, that's unintended. That's unintended.
No, but sometimes you get these fantastic, these really great outcomes from these things that you never intended. That's why I really love that kind of thing. And here we go. And I think I quite like the fact that, if the storm comes in and you haven't really paid attention to your surroundings, You know, like you haven't sort of just kept an eye on the layout that's around you. You can be kind of in trouble, which is great. So it certainly sort of prompts you to try and keep your wits about you. You know.
Mm-hmm. That's something that I never really liked about Hard Rainstorm. As assuming you're decently proficient at the game, it doesn't hinder you at all. You can just keep going. If someone gets pinned, you can clear them. You've got the outline close. Easy peasy. It's barely an inconvenience. We'll just make it a little more impactful here.
Yeah, I think the thing I loved about I'm a sucker for. I always say this, that I'm not someone who gets too into the mechanics. Like you guys that I know this game so well and know so much about every aspect of it, but all the technicality of the gameplay and that type of thing, hitboxes, I don't know, all sorts of things, right, that I never even think about. I'm looking at it more from a dramatic perspective, I guess. You know, so the Hard Rain Storm is fantastic for me because it reminds me of horror, like action movies and disaster movies, that type of thing. So that, or like the rooftop in what's it called, No Mercy is my favourite, finale, just because it feels so epic. It feels Die Hard. It feels, that type of thing. That's kind of what I'm always aiming for. So I think it's just interesting to hear the different perspectives on these sort of cinematic approaches, but actually from a gameplay perspective, because I just don't think about it that much, which is terrible. But okay, you ready?
We're about to meet the man himself.
So where did this idea come from?
This was one of the other ideas that, like I mentioned earlier, I was trying to think, how can I make this map interesting? How can I make this campaign stand out from others on the workshop and in the base game? Now, obviously, having an escort mission with a fifth survivor is kind of unprecedented. I mean, there are some campaigns that simulate it by having an animated model of a person, but that's just a glorified animation, essentially.
Yes,
that's not really a proper NPC. So, Mike was created.
How do you create a new custom survivor?
A lot of work from a lot of different people.
Right.
Mike, as a character, his concept and core design, that is merit to what's his name? Ash K. Pilgrim, a friend of mine who's an aspiring author, philosopher, psychologist.
Wow.
He enjoys writing a lot, so I approached him and said, "Hey, I need a character design. Would you be down?" And he came up with a design, really good one. Back and forth input, feedback, adjustments, tweaks. Then I approached Sal.
So before we move on to the technical bits, tell us about Mike. Who is he? What's his deal?
Well, Mike, basically, he was working with CEDA, like with the government at the mall while we were still posted there and handling evacuations. But when infected started pushing through and overrunning the area, he locked himself inside of the warehouse here. Unfortunately, the military left, cut off the power, and he was kind of stuck, so he just spent his time relaxing here and thinking about things and chilling.
Is he bitter about the situation at all? No, he's fairly chilled, right? Yeah,
he's a pretty cool guy. He's not quite like on the same level as Lewis or Ellis, but he's kind of like Coach in that regard. Just friendly guy doing his thing and happy to
well prepared though, right? Well prepared, definitely.
Yeah, pretty decently prepared.
Yeah, okay, and then next steps. How do you get an extra? Like what are the technical steps involved in making this happen?
Essentially, Mike, at his most basic. Oh, he's running off to the event area already.
He is.
At his most basic, he's just Bill with a custom model and custom voice lines. That's essentially what he is. It's very much a simplification because there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. To avoid conflicts with Bill mods like 8 survivor mods.
Of course, yeah.
That's the gist of it.
So he started as a 5th survivor, just one of the regulars, and then patching over the top of that until But then the hard bit comes in. How do you do that without breaking everything else? Yeah, gotcha. Gotcha. And it's always the way like with this stuff where you prototype it, and it works great, but then you realise you've just broken about 10 other things. Yeah.
It was actually very nerve-wracking to implement each step, starting with just spawn in Bill. Good, that works. Okay, let's give him a custom model. Okay, that works. That voice lines, because every single step Like in isolation, in theory it works, but there's
But
always
any
a
one of
chance
them
that you
can break everything else.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you just have to keep retesting and crazy.
basically pray to the source gods that nothing breaks.
Are there any problems still?
There's some issues, like you can't give them custom subtitles. That is
okay.
unfortunately not possible because add-ons do not support the subtitle files. I did make like a separate patch, but it has to be manually installed. So
Right.
it's okay.
But
It's the best we can
nothing
do.
too strange. Yeah, no, it's great. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, another technical limitation is a mic-like NPC. Mic-like, I like that.
I like
only
mic.
works if the playable survivors are the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors. If you're playing as Left 4 Dead 1 survivors, you're not able to spawn in an additional survivor.
Okay. And is that through a mod? That's how you'd be doing it, right? Through an add-on?
Yeah, just basically through a script that spawns Mike specified as the quote-unquote unknown survivor.
Right.
And the script then points to, hey, use this model for him and use these voice lines for him. He has this weapon preference, so on and so forth. Rayman or Shadowy Sin basically just took care of that. I just custom on the process.
I'm trying to remember what happens to Mike now, because he doesn't follow us all the way through. He comes to a bad end, right?
Not necessarily. There's actually, in this version, the current release version, there's two outcomes. Either he dies along the way after the event has completed. If he dies during the event, we fail and have to restart. Or he makes it to the end safe room and decides, yeah, no, I'm not going through this again. You guys can go on and just tell the military to come pick me up. However, for the next update, it's set up that you can do a little Easter egg to make him tag along.
Oh, really?
He has dozens, in fact, of new voice lines for that, where he stays with the survivors till the end, and he can escape with you in the finale. However, he has permadeath. So if he dies at any point along the way, he's gone. Yeah.
He's not going to show up in a resurrection closet or anything.
Exactly.
Okay, so, and also I've got the audio way down on the game. Who's doing the voice lines for it? Who's doing the voice acting?
The voice acting is done by Salad. He's, I believe he's an audio technician, yeah. And I basically just approached him and said, hey, I got this character, will you be down to voice him? He said, yeah. And Salad, he recorded, almost 350 voice lines by now?
Oh my god, really? That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot. And that's one of the ones that made it in. He had multiple takes, he had some cut voice lines. I think it was like 3 hours total worth of recordings that he sent me.
And it's just like with me where, you've got a friend, they've got some talent, and you're sort of saying, okay, I'm doing this project, are you interested in doing something for this? Like if you do anything you do, obviously I'll include it if I like it. But they do it because they're passionate about it and because they want to do it for fun, or whatever. But then, like, I've got a friend Ed who does a lot of model making, and like he's done some things, and he just turns up with this amazing work at the end of it. I'm like, oh my god, this is incredible! Thank you so much, But at the same time, he gets to show his work, and it gets to be seen by lots and lots of people.
Yeah, I mean, if people are already going to help with a hobby project, it's likely not for pay, so there has to be a certain amount of passion or some utility for putting it on your CV or projects that you've done to show off and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I do have some other voice actors who also contributed lines. The helicopter pilot at the end is an aspiring voice actor.
Okay.
Who else was there? I asked another friend of mine for the soldiers at the APC. And there's another friend of mine who's also an aspiring voice actor who voices the radio in the finale. And of course, I think we might have missed it, but the radio here is voiced by yours truly.
There you go. Very nice. I didn't know that. Well done. Okay, but I mean, I find if you go onto Reddit or something like that, there's actually quite a lot of people who are sort of aspiring voice actors who are happy to do some work and get it included in something. Once again, just for portfolio purposes. So, yeah, if you're looking for it, don't just do it yourself, or get your work. You can do it if you do a good job like Jaiz just did. But
yeah, there's no harm in asking people. Even the music for the campaign, I asked two friends of mine, two musicians, I know them pretty well. Asked them, hey, you want to make some original tracks for this project? And if you're down, we can work on it. And the other guy, Callie May, Also, the first guy's name is Swoopy Duper, just plugging him.
Yeah.
The other guy, Cal Yume, he already had songs made that I really liked. And I
Yeah.
questioned, hey, do you, can I use these in the campaign? I'll play on the jukebox, give you credit and everything. And later I bridged that by saying, hey, I still need some credits music for when the survivors escape, want that custom. Would you be down to do that? We can work on it and figure things out. And it adds a really, like, custom assets, like sounds and whatnot, add a lot of personality to a project.
Yeah, they really do, and I think it's if you're lucky to have some talented friends, or even if you've got people that I often find are looking for projects that they're not building projects themselves, but they are looking for opportunities to help out with something. There's a lot of people out there, so don't be afraid to ask. 'Cause I think people are often quite happy to
And for all you know, sorry, I just want to say, like, for all you know, this random person who's expressed mild interest, they can become a good friend. You can work on more projects.
Exactly.
Maybe they can find projects for you. Never hurts to get to know people.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I found the model that works for me is that rather than you see a lot of these project teams like, well, we're creating a team, like and we're sort of recruiting all these people. It's actually I just commission small pieces of work, so I need a barrel that I can put fire in, so I need a barrel broken up. Do you mind, having a bit of that kind of thing? And then you sort of piece it together that way rather than assembling a team, and making kind of a big deal out of it.
Just look for what you need when you need it, because ideas change, plans, ideas get scrapped, designs change, plans are modified.
I think that's the other thing is I had to be really clear with people that, I may, if you want to build it, great, but I may use it. There may be a situation where it actually doesn't get used, it gets stuck, and I need you to be okay with that, as well. That's the other thing to be careful of. And here we go. So now we've got a car alarm and a snowstorm.
I don't think there's any horde actually.
No, there isn't.
Had a bunch.
Yeah, there isn't. But this is great. Like when this kicks, I know this is like obviously a random snowstorm, but just with the snowstorm when it closes in, just this kind of tight alleyway piece with that is fantastic.
Oh yeah, here also, there's a dynamic path here, and it seems we've got the lower path, but you can actually get to the rooftop, I believe, because sometimes the garage doors will be closed, and instead you'll have a ladder leading up to the roof.
So it just shows you actually. Now I'm thinking about. Obviously, we're talking. My mind isn't fully on this, but I tend to have tunnel vision when I'm playing. Like I'm really just looking for the next door ahead of me. I'm not really thinking about the overall space. Like you say, the sort of that primary path all the way through. There you are. You're up there. Oh, wow. That's a hell of a secondary path.
Yeah, it's a pretty big detour. Nice. The main reason this alternate path actually exists is, NF, right? Worked in Last Stand. He's in the team still.
Yes.
He played through an earlier version of Coldfront, where only the lower path was open. Like there was no split path. There was minor deviation in the garages, but nothing other than that.
Right.
And he said it would be really cool to have more elevation, like actually going up to these rooftops. So I tried to find a way to actually implement that, and that's how I ended up with this rooftop path.
No, I think it's great because obviously you were passing through these buildings to the other side, but previously, I guess, were you cutting off, in terms of optimization, were you cutting off one area of this map from the other, with skyboxing kind of thing? Or was it always open? Right, so obviously now you're having to open that up, right, into one large space, or at least for Viz, to have to deal with that, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of an unfortunate side effect of, level design. You can't hyper-optimize. Like, you're gonna have to sacrifice some optimization to keep areas accessible for infected, for versus, and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think that's me coming from a Half-Life 2 space. Obviously, with an older engine, you have to be a lot more, strict about that type of thing. So, and I mean, I think Left 4 Dead does fine, even with some unoptimized spaces. A lot of my maps have big areas. Using Viz clusters to optimize it a bit more. But no, I think it does fine with these big outdoor sort of spaces. But no, it's just interesting. I think I struggle to find those alternate paths just as I'm worried about the map being less optimal than it could be. So train lines feature heavily in Left 4 Dead, don't they? They're, come on.
Actually, I don't think so. The
Really?
only the only train-like areas I can think of are in Crash Course and Blood Harvest.
Actually, maybe that's me just being really sort of super sensitive about it. I always think it's too much of a cliche to do a train line, right? Well, I guess because there's the subway and the, and things like that.
Oh yeah, the subway, No Mercy.
Yeah. And then I think also because the SDK campaign was Deadline, right, which was like a subway campaign. So I'm always super cautious about doing train lines, but I love the way this kind of gives you lots of different sort of elevations, and lots of different obstacles, and there's sort of the opportunity to get above it all,
Yeah, it's a pretty open area that is at the same
great.
time
so
still
great.
very close quarters.
Yeah, no, I really love this. I thought this was an amazing way to do this. Just because you're sort of picking your way through it, and it gives the infected so many nice little nooks and crannies to come in from.
Yeah. Here again, a classic example of using light to guide the player.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, there was I can't remember. There's a level designer I was working with on the Creases stuff, and he said if you want, a really good thing is having a spotlight towards the player that they run towards. That really sort of draws them in like moths to a
Let's jump
flame.
down.
Okay. So one-way drops. I use a lot of one-way drops in my maps to keep the players moving forwards, prevent them from going, all the way back through. I mean, you were saying that you didn't really see that much of a problem with players being able to run all the way back to the beginning safely. Or maybe
Yeah,
I don't want to misquote you, sorry, but we were talking about this a while ago, weren't we?
I feel like if players want to run all the way back and there's like no technical or otherwise practical reason to prevent them from doing it, then let players play the way they want. So having the freedom to make those weird or questionable choices like that is part of what I'd say makes Left 4 Dead so appealing.
Yeah. I mean, I think actually, for me, it's not so much the fact that push gameplay is very much a linear thing of single-player games, right? Where you're, as I say, you're pushing the player to the next section of the map, because ultimately there's nothing behind you worth going back for, because you've already cleared everything out. Whereas Left 4 Dead, obviously the director's going to spawn new things, So it is a slightly different design concept. But the other thing as well is the choice to commit to the new space, right, for the players, like especially in a group and a co-op group. If I go down here, I'm alone, right, and I'm so it sort of pushes that group play, right.
Yeah, there's definitely like the balance gameplay aspect to it. For example, in Versus, a one-way drop is a pretty strong opportunity for the infected team to outright kill one of the survivors. So you gotta think, okay, if I put a very intense one-way that is difficult to cover for the player who dropped down very early into the map, that might often result in one player dying instantly and then sitting out the entire campaign. Here, for example, it's roughly at the, bit past the halfway point. Oh, someone shot me.
That was me.
Oh, you can actually see here the custom new cars. Because by default, only the 95 sedan can be alarmed, so Rocky made more
you're right.
versions of them.
Because it's also got that multi sort of random colour generator on the sedan as well, isn't it? So you can put them in and it'll spawn with a different colour each time and that type of thing.
But about one-way drops, the balance of them is a pretty big factor in my opinion.
So it's so funny because both Salvation Falls and Dry County start with a one-way drop in that one. That's really funny. So I should probably take that out of Dry County. But I quite like. I've just got an aspect there where you can. Oh, sugar on that, haven't I? Where you're sort of coming up over that rise and you're seeing zombies for the first time, basically. In the map.
Yeah, it can make for a pretty cool effect, but yeah, it's just a matter of balance.
I probably need to rethink it. I probably need to rethink it. Yeah. Oh, really? No, yeah, I'd rather have some ammo. Oh, excuse me. That's better.
Oh, another fun fact about this area specifically. It is based on a map called Prelude, I think, which it's lost media. The only remaining part of it is a map file that I was given by the original creator.
The BMF or BSP?
The BMF.
Oh, right, nice. Okay.
I essentially made a copy of that and modified it to suit this layout.
Was that for Left 4 Dead 1 or was that for how come it's lost? Let's see.
I'm not sure. I think the original creator just never backed it up and deleted
Right.
all his files, and unless
Welcome-
it's somewhere
welcome
like
to my world,
on
yeah.
a server, yeah, it's just basically lost media until then.
Okay, so the original map's not around. I guess it's so, but so what was the when you say it was based on it? Do you mean the sort of just the general sort of layout or
The general layout, yeah.
because it's quite a zigzag, isn't it? You're kind of going back and forth here along the street and then up through the woods and then you're sort of it's a winding path sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a nice idea.
I also very much like how the infected have the cover of the trees to use for their advantage.
Tree cover's
Because,
interesting, yeah, for this game. Just figuring out, where you should clip. What's deep enough to clip. Where you should have bushes and rocks and things versus actual clip brushes.
Yeah, I don't really have that issue here because it's a very valley-like design. So
Yeah.
wherever like the ground gets too steep, that's where you
Agreed.
can clip. But for the rest, I honestly are more on the side of okay, let players like parkour around and do their thing.
Yeah. Okay, so that last map's kind of it's just that sort of really long linear pathway, right? I'm trying to think coming out of that. Yeah, but for me that's really appealing. Just that kind of you're getting to more rural. It's that deep freeze is really coming in. Yeah, but I think that's my favourite. I have to say out of all of them, which is odd. It's probably not other people's favourites, but for me that really worked.
I mean, having the theme kind of change from the urban city environment of the wall, like in the first map, go into the more rural part. Like you go through the city, then you go through some industrial outskirts, and you go to the rural forest, and at the end here you hit the highway. It's a
Right.
lot of variety, and it helps make everything feel a lot more varied, but also in turn makes things feel a lot longer than they actually are.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Yeah, it's I think and the more there's a lot of maps out there, a lot of custom maps. No criticism, they're well made, but they are very samey. All the way
Yeah.
through. They have that very similar environment all the way through, so it is nice to see that transition.
My general rule of thumb is have one overarching theme, and then within that theme add the variety.
Some-
like here,
something,
for Cold
yeah.
Front, the overarching theme is the snow, obviously.
Yeah.
The snowfall, the cold.
This feels almost Day of Defeat to me, the way like
Really?
the broken buildings, the snow, the military vehicles. Yeah, I get a real kind of World War II Day of Defeat vibe to it, which is really cool.
I can see that.
Yeah.
This was mostly inspired by Hard Rain Sugar Mill, actually.
Oh yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Who's on the radio? Is this the bar?
This is, I believe, I have my sound off for
okay,
talking.
go on, sorry.
I believe it's Alpha 9 and Big Bird. Alpha 9 is
Okay.
they are the infantry units stationed on the other side of the finale.
Yeah.
And Big Bird is the headquarters, the command center type of guy. Fun fact: the name Big Bird was suggested by a friend of mine who I asked for input for like the military stuff because he's a Marine.
Okay.
Yeah, he's U.S. Marine, and he said asked him what are some call signs that people would usually have, and he said one of the call signs that that they used during a mission years ago was Big Bird for no for like the command guy, the commanding officer, or whatever it was. Forgot the details.
Okay. Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'm going to call him Big Bird.
Let's one quick thing. Can we talk about Desert Eagles? Because I got told off the other day for putting too many Desert Eagles in my campaign.
Okay.
Is that? Are they just a regular pistol, or are they like a tier 2? Like rarity.
I consider both the dual pistol and the Eagle fairly interchangeable. They both have like their own strength and their own weakness.
Right.
So I don't see too much of a reason to like strictly split them into tiers. I do try to pay attention to like how even the secondary weapons spawn, because unlike the official campaigns where you basically get pistols everywhere and melees indiscriminately, I try to have the better melee show up more towards the end. So you only start with
shots.
only pistols and like some worse melees, and gradually you get better options as you progress.
No, me too. It was just interesting. I didn't know enough about pistols to know that the Deagle Desert Eagle was a thing. I don't know. Some people appear to be like a super weapon of some kind. Okay, talk us through the finale before we do it. Just so people.
Well, essentially the finale. God, it went through so many changes. The original layout was extremely flat, but I wanted to, from the beginning, go with the dynamic escape idea, I wanted to have a bridge that if you're quick enough, you can run to the other side and escape via an APC. And if you take too long, it gets blown up, and you have to hold out until
Oh
until
wow!
the
So
comes to pick you up.
multiple escape vehicles. That's incredible. Okay, and is that the whole team would have to go both? It's either the whole team goes one way or the other, right?
Essentially, I mean,
Yeah.
I did make sure that it's not like hyper realistic that you can't get blown up on the bridge or anything.
Right.
Essentially, it's just a timer that checks. Okay, after 5 minutes, disable all the stuff for this escape.
Sure.
Enable all the things for the bridge explosion, the,
And just to be
the
clear,
helicopter
is
sequence.
that in here, or that was an idea that didn't make it?
That is in. That is completely
Oh,
functional
okay.
right now. And yeah, the original design was basically just run along a highway, take an off ramp that circles around, cross over a bridge, then drop that into like a truck stop before reaching another bridge. And I changed that to basically the design that we have now, where we're actually at a military outpost that was abandoned.
Right.
We go to like a bit of a checkpoint type of area, connect to a gas station, then take the off ramp to go onto the highway, and then basically just follow the highway through some twists and turns,
Sure.
cross one bridge, reach a train yard, and then you get the dynamic escape. It gets locked in as soon as you drop down, and that's that.
That's crazy because I was way late to the party on this campaign, by the way, so I had no idea that was in there. So that's awesome. Has that had? Do you get much response to that, like in terms of the community and that idea?
I think people quite liked it. I'm not aware of any other campaign that has a dynamic escape like this.
Right.
I did get some negative feedback during the early playtests,
Right.
because there were no voice lines, there was no proper indication like, okay, what's going on, why is it happening? So understandably, players didn't know, okay, why did it blow up this time? Why did it not blow up
Right.
last
Gotcha.
time that I played? Am I being pushed out random? Is it RNG? But like with voice lines and like all the contextual clues and whatnot that were added, I think pretty much everyone liked it.
No, that's great. I was just really interesting because that type of thing, obviously, if it's unusual and people aren't used to that, element, that
It
can-
definitely adds some replay value, as you mentioned earlier, because you can
Yeah.
get one escape and you can play the entire finale again to get the other escape.
So just before we start, I'm just going to say I love the aesthetic in this map now, like the fogging and the forest along the edge there, and the way that's sort of that's just looks so amazing. I'm just going to give you huge kudos for that because that's just.
I'm
so
honestly
great.
quite proud of this. I very much appreciate that.
Yeah, that's so
Also,
great.
you might notice, like how we had the storms in maps 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
Very gradually throughout map 4, the storm cleared up and the environment became clearer to match this. Whereas in map 3, it's a lot more foggy, like harder to see in the distance.
Yeah, and I think and I think it's just this because we haven't kicked off yet. There's no infected. It's peaceful. It's quiet. The wind's blowing. It's just eerie. I love the sort of the eerie, feel of this area. It's fantastic. So, and obviously most players probably just will hit that and get going straight away. But I'm just going to appreciate that as we've been hanging around. Okay, you ready?
Yep, we are probably going to get the bridge explosion ending though, because it's taking a long time to
That's
start.
absolutely fine. That's okay. I quite like the bridge explosion. Okay,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
we're going to talk about the gas station on the way, right?
Yeah, we can once we get there. Also, like other finales, it's a confirmation before actually starting it. So you gotta hit the button.
Oh yeah,
That's-
see, I don't do that because I need to do that more often. For me, it's just hit the button and you're off, kind of thing. But that's,
Yeah. It's good to just give players like that extra room for like preparation, so they don't accidentally start the finale too soon.
What's your tactic here? Do you just go for it, or are you?
I just like it, honestly. Just
No. I mean, it's just like exactly. But obviously, there's a lot of things like asides and pickups and things like that. Obviously, if you're just bombing it through, do you get yourself into trouble later for not taking advantage of this? Early on. as
Not
well?
necessarily, actually. Most of these side areas mainly serve the purpose of providing the infected with
Yeah, of
places to
course.
spawn. But I did try to put ample supplies along the main path for players to make use of. I did get some feedback from some players that it's too intense, so for the next version I am adding a couple more along the way, just a couple of like pipe bombs and healing items, just for those who like really
It's
need
a
it.
big space as well in terms of like trying to balance this. There's a lot of room here. A lot of things, a lot of factors to consider with such a long format.
Yeah. This area specifically actually has an interesting design behind it because I wanted to make this gas station explode. You could shoot a gas pump, it would blow up, and then when you shoot four of the gas pumps, the entire thing would go up into the air, just explode.
Boy, do I hear a lot about this. From people.
Unfortunately, very much unfortunately, the engine cannot handle that. It's too much. But the core design still remains because you can obviously run like straight through the gas station.
Yeah.
I got you. You can run straight through at the risk of blowing yourself up or being blown up by your teammates, or you can go through the gas station store and take a slightly longer way around, stay further away from the gas pumps.
So I had an aspect to where currently I've got that collapsible tunnel that Rocky built for me very thankfully, and but with that it was how do they know that this is dangerous, right? How do you know that this is something? So and what happened was, if you could shoot that from a distance, it would blow up before they even got there, right? And they didn't even know that they'd shot it, right? Like, it was, a stray bullet would set it off from miles away. Now, obviously, in this situation, design-wise, it's a gauntlet. Everything here is telling me that I should just be running forwards, right? Like fairly blindly, but, just hacking my way through the hordes.
Yeah, just like, get to the points.
So having an explosive gas station in my path is not something that I'd be expecting from a design perspective, I guess. We know from the gameplay. So I think, as much as it's a technical limitation and a disappointment for you, I think it's a better choice not to put an explosive gas station like directly in the path of the gauntlet. But that's
it actually worked pretty well, honestly, because the way you approach it, the infected are all coming from the direction of the gas pumps. So just by shooting them regularly, you're pretty much going to hit the gas pump, which would have set them off and basically convey, oh, damn, this can blow up. And then obviously it's not a huge explosion yet, so you get a bit more leeway, but it was fairly intuitive, honestly.
Okay. No, it's just interesting, yeah, I was just sort of thinking, I guess it makes you stop, right? That you have to wait for the explosion to clear before you can move forwards. You've already got hordes coming at you anyway, so it's not exactly summoning anything, right? Yeah. So, no, I get it. So it's just interesting. I would have liked to have seen it, I guess, like even in its buggy glory, to see, just how it affects.
I mean, it wasn't just buggy; it straight up made the game crash when you blew it up. I do have a recording of it where I modified the map to the bare minimum stuff. I cut out basically everything except the gas station,
right?
And then it works. But as soon as you add anything more, it just crashes. The engine just can't handle it.
I mean, is it just the spawn rate and things like that, and everything's got a handle as well as those explosions, or is it more of a physics issue?
A bit of both. There's already a lot of entities in the map, not even including the infected, like all the logic and for the dynamic escape and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just overall way too much for the engine to handle, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm not doing well, but I'm still moving forwards. Which way are we going here? Left or right? I always get confused. Like direction-wise, we're going right, aren't we? No, we're not. It's left.
I tried to put
everything. I mean, the beams are saying left. Everything's saying left. I think it's because you've got this car here, kind of. If this car, blocking the way a bit, they feel and then we got tanks. Lovely. This is great. And that's a force spawn, right? He's always there.
Yeah, that's a guaranteed spawn. It's actually random because you could get him early on at the bottom highway. You can get him when approaching the power plants area here, or you can get him up here on the
meat grinder. Yeah. I'm getting absolutely ground dead.
Okay.
The world is getting dim.
I can't get to you. Ouch.
I don't. 8, 5, 2. Forget it.
Oh God.
That was it. Well done. Thank you.
I tried to crouch underneath the cars here, but I couldn't get through.
That was close. We've got a horde coming.
Interview's not over yet.
Exactly. I was going to say we must have to cut the whole thing short. So. Okay, so now we've got the highway, and then we're down to the train line. Is that right? And back to the train line again.
We still have to cross the bridge.
Yeah.
But after that, we can drop down into the train, which actually isn't. I think layout-wise, it is not connected to the. Actually, no, wait. I think it is connected to the railway lines we saw in the previous map. But not overtly. The tracks just come out of the tunnel. So we'll just pretend. Oh yeah, it just goes into the mountain at some point.
And was it always this long, like with this many sections, or did you add to it? Or
it was always this length, yeah. No, it was always like this, yeah. Actually, I think I shortened the highway portion a little bit because I was gauging that just based on like my own impression when walking through the map, and I made it a bit long at the start, so I just shortened that.
No, I'm just curious. Like, is it? I don't know. Like, how did you judge it to be the right length? You know, I guess.
Honestly,
you
just intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like having played Left 4 Dead for over 4,000 hours, you kind of get like a feeling like when you go through a map, where you kind of start feeling like there's got to be a safe room nearby soon, or there should be a safe room right around the corner. I just base it off that, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, there's it's interesting. I base my length of my maps always on the official campaigns, right? So, but there's a lot of people that are used to custom campaigns being quite a lot longer. Like they're looking for much longer maps, you know, than the official campaigns. Or at least that's some of the feedback that I've kind of got, which is interesting. So, and I don't play enough custom campaigns to know what they're talking about, you know. Whenever I'm building something, I'm always trying to just emulate the original game to try and create more content for, you know.
Yeah, I try to follow the same like design philosophy of the official campaigns that we talked about earlier. There's a reason people like those, and I believe I enjoy making vanilla style campaign much more than like doing wacky or crazy stuff.
Yeah, me too. But with a twist, you know, as you say, like we don't have any frozen. I mean, there are other custom maps with this kind of frozen, but I don't think there's a map with this much detail and this much quality. You know?
Yeah, Vanilla Plus is how I describe it. Like my own mapping style.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. And so I kind of have taken the. There we go.
Boom.
Oh, damn it. Come on, where's my axe? There it is. That was a lot. There was a lot going on there.
Yeah. I did slow down the effect a little more in the next version, so...
Yeah, so I like the fact that, you know, you have the gauntlet and then it's like, okay, calm down. Okay, now we've got now we're going to do it properly. Yeah. It's quite fun.
Now, there's also a little issue here. One is, I could not get players to go the right direction all the time or consistently because... Oh god, jockey.
When you say the right direction, do you mean over to the right? Or?
Yeah, they drop down, you see all these options because obviously I had to design this for a holdout. It's got to be a holdout arena type of deal, so it can't just be a straight line. But that also meant that players like went off into various different directions, and then ended up getting lost, not knowing where to go, while the escape music starts, and it was a bit of a mess.
Oh, I see what you mean, to get to the chopper, you mean?
No, like when they first drop down, like the escape music starts. Like
I see what you mean, sorry, in this space, yeah, gotcha. No, I can imagine that.
Yeah, that's why I added the giant flare that shoots up from the other side of the bridge. People still miss it, and I don't know what else to really do. Because someone did suggest like having voice lines play to like yelling, "Hey, over here, across the bridge!" But having that play when you get the bridge explosion kind of makes the military just look like they're assholes.
I really like the sort of end of train line thing. I don't know, I can't explain it. It's like it's got
it's the end of the bridge.
Yeah, no, but I'm thinking of like Spider-Man 2, or you know what I mean. There's like several films where you've kind of got that end of train line, you know, with a car. I don't know. There's just something quite cool about it. I suppose I should probably get on the chopper. Okay, and obviously the pickup space is great as well. Is this a proper chopper escape where it's attached to a model and, you know, with the smooth thing?
No, the actual cameras, I recorded them myself and synchronized them up to everything.
Oh, nice. I like the infected falling off the edge of the thing as well. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Well, we survived. I actually made it all the way through that wiping, which I'm quite proud of, thank God, even though we're uneasy. But still, it's very difficult when you're being distracted.
Another thing that I really liked, during the escape cinematic, like when the chopper's flying away, when the APC is driving away, you get like that voiceover of the soldiers like talking on the radio, like the pilot's radioing in, extraction confirmed, stuff like that. Right. I took direct inspiration from the Parish because the Xander guy, he added that to the Parish finale when the chopper flies away. The pilot will say extracting or extraction confirmed, and I find that really cool because it adds like an extra layer of just that badass, holy crap, we actually made it type of feeling to this game. Yeah,
there's some bits when you reach like a safe room or something, you slam it, and Nick is like pipes in and says, "That's how you do that." And like, come on, it's great. And And also, I think just having that chopper sort of finale at the end, as I say, I always go back to No Mercy. Dun, 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 as the chopper flies into the camera, you know, it's great. So I
mean, I got the custom credits music. Made sure it's synced up, lines up nicely.
Yeah, no, I don't have my music on, so we've missed it, unfortunately. But I do recommend people go and listen to it and make the most out of it, knowing it's there. Thank you so much for talking through that. It was great. It was really, really useful. Any final? Would you do it again, given your experiences of everything that's involved?
I mean, sure, we can run through Cold Front again. We can run through the next campaign sometime.
I meant, would you build another campaign?
Oh, absolutely. I'm already working on one. I've got two
really?
maps. I got the layout done for 2 maps. I plan to make it a 5-map campaign. In fact, I am working with another level designer for that campaign. So, although Cold Front took, 2-3 years to make, next campaign should be done in less than a year.
And I guess you've done it once now, so now you know how to make it easier on yourself, right? I guess.
Oh yeah, I got the workflow down.
Okay, excellent. Well, I can't wait to play that either. Thank you so much for talking to us, and I'm looking forward to new things, and I'll speak to you soon, mate.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.